What's up, Zox fam? Now, I seen that there was a lot of you guys that wanted to build Enzo, but didn't necessarily want to full send invest into Enzo. So I'm bringing you guys a low investment build that's going to allow you to be able to use Enzo in Gluttony, considering that this is just to make him usable to do the job of buffing characters, okay? He's really not meant to be doing anything other than that. I would say you could argue if you want to build him a little bit more, which we'll have another video for that, for his full send investment. You want to make him, able to withstand some damage if you need to do a longer fight to maybe res and stuff like that. But this is under the notion of two things, right? And we're going to talk about two different team compositions with this build. If you are running the DPS burst build with Glay, then you don't really need much. But if you are trying to run something outside of that, then there's some other factors that you'll have to consider, and we'll talk about that, okay? First things first, what are we running? We're running the Supply Firearm Enhancer. Supply Firearm Enhancer basically is going to be giving you the opportunity to give a buff that your teammates and yourself can also pick up, which is going to be giving you a weak point damage increase of 15% and a firearm critical hit rate increase of 29%. The other buff that we're also going to be applying is the Perfect Support. We don't care about anything else here. We are going for that Perfect Support, which is giving you a firearm increase or firearm attack increase of 20%, firearm critical hit rate of 20%, and then a reload time modifier. Now, I did test this. Shout out to the homie Exo. These two buffs do stack. So yes, they are two buffs that will stack on top of each other, and the DPS are 1000% taking full advantage of both of these buffs. What we are essentially working on here, we are trying to increase the duration, how long this lasts, okay? But we're also trying to, if we're working on anything else, reducing cooldown and then skill costs and then some survivability, right? But if you're running, like, for example, the meta team comp, which is primarily the 3 Glaze or 2 Glaze, I think a Enzo and maybe a Valby, it just kind of varies on the team, but I think the top one is 3 Glaze. All you need really, skill extension, which is skill duration plus 36.5%. You have the maximized duration, which is skill duration plus 40% with the negative skill modifier, but we don't care about that because you're doing gun damage, so it doesn't matter. And there's no conversions happening either, so you're good. Then we have, for example here, this was one of the preset slots that we had, which was the Malachite slot here. I just put skill cooldown here with the time distribution, and then it gives me a little bit more HP, which is nice. I went for the standard increased HP and increased defense. These are 2 module slots that I did. So in total, I did 3 resets, right? Which is huge. That's like no investment compared to what I normally have to have done, which is like a lot. That's pretty nice. Then we have the Enlightenment module, which is giving us an additional amount of MP. Now, what I would say here is that this is a solid enough build to run Enzo, and you're just going to have the DPS do the rest, right? They got to do the setup, pre-firing, ramping, all that jazz. The Glay mains know what to do with that, right? But your job is primarily making sure that you're placing this ability, which is your first skill. They pick it up, and then you need to make sure that you then place or summon this right before the damage starts for them so that they get that extra amount of crit rate and firearm attack to add to the damage equation. Some of the other modules that you can supplement or put on here, like one that would actually be pretty good is Battle of Stamina. Battle of Stamina is giving you some HP and skill duration. So if you're trying to make him a little bit tankier, what you could also go for is more HP. You could actually run the increased HP with this because then you also get the skill duration. Or if you don't feel like you need as much HP, then you can use this instead and then get that extra skill duration to add to the timer of essentially DPS windowing to burst down the boss. Now the thing is that, again, I have to emphasize the fact that you are doing your solo job. It is up to the Glaze to take advantage, or the DPS I should argue, to take advantage of the buff that you're giving to do the damage necessary to burst down the boss. The most you're going to be doing in the fight, if anything, is, like I said, supplying the buffs and then resurrecting if you're doing a longer form fight. Now, this is also considering, guys, this is at 65 cost. We are not using a energy activator for this build. So that's even saving you the usage of that if you decide that you don't want to use that, right? The main thing is that Enzo can take some hits in this build. I'm going to show you some of the things that I would recommend that you might want on your external component. I still need to farm a proper reactor for him, so I actually can get the proper skill damages and stuff like that. But again, for this build, really don't care too much about that. The main stats that I was looking for was skill duration and skill cooldown, right? That's because also too, we tested out this Enzo build on teams that did not have full glaze on them, and just kind of messing around with, like, okay, if we have a Valby and then one glaze, and like he still is going to be scaling the damage, but he's going to have to proc that ability more often. So being able to place that faster is going to always kind of essentially help those glaze out, or whoever's doing DPS, because you also have the supply moisture Valbies, is going to be helping them with keeping the uptime up on their parameters for that extra crit rate, extra firearm attack, so that they're constantly doing scaled damage, and it's still going to make the fight much faster than if you weren't using a buffer, right? Now, so main things there, obviously you want to go for a non-attribute, and then of course you want to still maintain that singular, but then also non-attribute skill power boost ratio instead. Like I said, I would recommend skill duration up, skill cooldown, because you're really not using anything else. You don't need skill critical rate, skill critical damage. You're not needing additional skill damage to Colossus bosses, because even the bullets that are coming from the fourth skill, you're really, like I said, primarily focused on buffing your allies so they can do the melting for you, and you're just kind of there to assist, right? Now, on top of that, what I am running on, I would say, is just like really important for Gluttony, because you might have noticed there were no resistance modules. Resistance mods, I still live by those, and I still would say if I didn't have that MP, like for example, which I could take off, I would run a resistance mod in that slot instead. So if you don't care for the MP, run a resistance mod. Right? Like that would actually be something like, let me see if we have one, right? Run a resistance mod. That would be better. Right? If you don't need that extra MP, it's perfectly okay. If you have enough coming from the external components, run cold anybody. That would keep you alive much longer if you have to fight longer, right? Now, the other thing is too, is that again, because I don't have the mod on, I made sure I had a mod, and this is the perfect mod because it's under skill duration, or sorry, external component, not mod. It is under skill duration. It gives me MP and then chill resistance. So it is perfect for this boss fight. That's going to allow you to survive a lot longer and take more hits. Okay, so again, making sure you have some defense. Here I have shield recovery modifier. That's for my defensive layer. We don't care about the chill power or this other set. It kind of sucks because we do need better sets in the game. I would say, like, for the time being, like if you did want to go for a 4 set, I don't think it's really worth, to be quite honest. Like honestly, I would just say going for those 2 sets, get that skill duration, and then just making sure you have the necessary stats so that you survive, right? Because as long as you're up, you're basically going to be supplying that buff, which is the most important thing for this fight. Now, outside of that, again, still going to recommend the Gregs, even if you are using Enzo, because keep in mind, Enzo actually does get the ability to be able to take advantage of the buffs. So you don't have to go too crazy with feeling like you got to have, this extraordinary gun, because again, he still gets to make use of them. So you are still contributing some damage. I'm still doing around 11 to 12, maybe even sometimes 15 million damage, which is pretty solid considering that, like I said, I'm still focusing primarily within the fight, throwing down the drones, or throwing down the buffs for people to pick up, and then having the drones appear so that they still get that crit damage, buff. But outside of that, guys, nothing really else is required. I'm not gonna like shoot too much other stuff at you guys until we get into the next video where I have the right reactor and we actually full send him and get him like where he needs to be properly. But this is the bare minimum, right? Low investment. Only 3 module slots were necessary here just to get enough costs to be able to put these slots just to keep them alive and to get that duration down. To increase the duration. Oh yeah, guys, one last thing. I wanted to show you my stats. I've been forgetting to show them like damn near every video, but we got it this time, okay? So these are my stats. I have about 10.9k HP, about 27k defense. And again, we are working towards having some chill res, at least a little bit, does not hurt. We're getting that from, like I said, the external components, but if you want the extra module, that'll put you even closer, even higher up to the recommended amount so that you aren't taking nearly as much damage. Again, guys, the biggest thing is the skill cooldown. Any skill duration that you can get is perfectly, like, it's just going to work perfect for this build. So that's basically going to be that for this, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Everyone, stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.